Hello, welcome to the Basketball Addicts podcast. Yes, last week we took a week off because somebody had recording issues with the system, aka Jason had recording issues with the system. That is me. So we couldn't record last week, but we're back at it. Today we're going to be talking about the same thing we were planning to talk about last week, which is top 25 players in the league next season, who we think the top 25 are next season. Not saying who the top 25 was last season. It's a projection. So, that's going to be important for the premise of the podcast. And we're also going to, talk about some news, some stuff like, LeBron James dropping 42, how cool that was in the Drew League.
Yeah.
Little stuff. DeAndre Ayton getting maxed, his contracts getting matched. And also people talk about the KD trade situation, which is something Chris definitely wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so also, that DeAndre Ayton, listen, I was when it came down, you heard about the DeAndre Ayton thing, right? Where I think they offered him $133 million, the Pacers did.
Uh-huh.
And the Phoenix Suns had 24 to 48 hours to match it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They matched it quick. They was like, we're going all in. This is our guy. This is our future right here. You can't have him. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Because me personally, I was like, you can skip to the loo and out the door. But I guess I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Suns were just trying to hold him over under the table and be like, "Oh, you really want this money? Somebody else has to give it to you first, and we'll match it."
Yeah.
And they were just waiting because there wasn't a lot of teams that had a lot of money. I'm surprised that it was the Pacers because they have Miles Turner. It didn't really much make sense for them strategically, but they're bad franchises. Oh, okay, they're gonna move Miles Turner.
Probably
okay,
so.
well. I guess DeAndre Ayton's not that special of a player. I think they still want to trade KD, try to get KD, but they just don't have the assets. So that KD trade's really interesting.
Yeah. So what I was thinking was it wasn't for sure true that they were going to trade Miles Turner, but I was thinking that would be the only way you make it work. You bring it into Ayton, you would get rid of somebody to make space.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And I think that Turner and Hill will be on the chopping block.
Yeah, I could see that. Those two are definitely two trade assets that I think a lot of teams would want. Those two are really good players.
And all they really need is money.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the Kevin Durant trade?
So I can't be biased, right? Because we've been in this situation before, right? James Harden, beginning of the season, he plays a couple games, forces his way out of Houston. We've been here before, And last time, what did I say? I was very critical of James Harden. I said that this is bad for business. This is bad look on him. This is bad on the Houston Rockets. It's just bad, bad, bad. And I'm going to say the same thing. He has 4 years left on his contract right now. 4. I understand you may hate it there as much as you may hate Steve Nash. You may not like playing with Kyrie no more. You don't like that you don't have a chance to win a championship. You don't like the fact that people are looking at you like, oh, you should be a leader, but I'm actually a Robin. I'm not a Batman. You don't like that? Fine. You have 4 years left on your contract. This is the contract that you signed. Nobody signed this contract for you. You have to stay and play the basketball. Now, this is where, Adam Silver, I think he came out a couple of days ago. Maybe it was last week. And he said something along the lines that, we need to put the focus back on the court, and not the players forcing their way out of off these teams. And that's where it's going. It's going to all of the media now is we don't even look at what you're doing on the court anymore. It's just, oh, you're trying to leave. That's our big story now. It's not the summer league is going on right now. I know it's probably not the most exciting, right? But these are young, fresh stars, and these are the people they look up to. Kevin Durant, the LeBrons, the Kyries, the Currys. You know what I mean? The Draymonds, the Clays. These are those type of caliber of players. Giannis. They see Giannis. Giannis is going to be a hometown faithful forever, pretty much. I think he's going to stay there as long as he can. I don't see him leaving. But then you have these other big stars like Kevin Durant, who's just I don't feel like I want to be here anymore. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna request a trade. Kyrie signed. So is it Kyrie or is it the team? I need to know. Kyrie signed. He signed his extension for $37 million. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like where we're going to end up heading to, and I hope not, but there's going to end up being, this is going to be like, the risk is going to end up being mitigated. Meaning that they're going to somehow, some way, force players, to stay on the team for their entire contract. Because it's just not fair. It's just not fair. It's not fair to the team, the organizations. Like, I understand there might be discussions behind the closed doors where, the team may be, you may not completely understand or agree with whatever, but you signed this contract. And the thing of the matter is that it's very selfish to try to leave a team, because this doesn't just impact your team and the governors and things like that. It impacts the entire league, plus the players that you may get traded for. So, like, now you're messing up chemistries now. Like, everything's getting messed up when you get traded to a different team. Look at James Harden. I mean, like, yeah, it might have been a great fit. You got Ben Simmons out of there. That's one thing. You sent him to Brooklyn. But still, it's just not. He forced his way out. He said that, okay, I don't want to play with Kyrie no more because I don't want to play halftime. I don't want somebody playing part-time. Whatever it may be. Had you stuck around, would have been a big difference. Who knows? That's like in hindsight. Me personally, I feel like if there's going to be a trade, it won't happen till either after the All-Star break, or they're going to find some way before the season starts to try to I guess you can't make him stay, but it's going to be something that's going to be like, okay, this is going to be a change in the rules or something like that. And they're going to have to talk to the Players Association, because so much power has been given to the players that you might have to dial it back a little bit, because now it's just like, it's getting out of hand now. This is the second season in a row where a marquee player in a franchise has forced their way out of a team.
I feel like we've disagreed about something like this before.
Possibly.
Here it comes round two, I guess. I am on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. First things first, I could never see the Players Association giving that up. Not in a million years would they give up, we have to stay all the way through our contracts and can't, threaten to sit out and stuff like that. There's loopholes in every contract, but that's beside the point. I think I view the league of the NBA a little differently. And the reason why is I think owners are selfish. I think most owners don't want to win basketball games. I think they want to put people in the seats and make money.
Mm-hmm.
I think this all happened, and I think a great example of this and why KD doesn't trust anybody and why he controls his own destiny is because the Oklahoma City Thunder didn't want to go in the luxury tax and pay James Harden $5 million more in contract negotiations. And ever since then, he has not trusted the front offices for good reason. Because people don't want to pay to win. They want to pay to put people in the stands.
Yeah.
Look at the Phoenix Suns. I remember reading Steve Kerr's book, and he had to trade players while he was with the Phoenix Suns GM just to move off their salaries. It was not about winning. It was about salaries. It was about not being in the luxury tax. Do you remember how much organizations fucked over players with the Isaiah Thomas situation? When they lied to him about his hip and they didn't really tell him the full truth about how much more hurt he was going to be by playing throughout the playoffs, and then he gets hurt and he doesn't get that max contract, and he's never made the money that he should have got. He was in the top 5 of the MVP ranking that year.
Yeah.
That's the Boston Celtics. That is one of the most well-known organizations in sports, basketball-wise. There's only a few. The Golden State Warriors care about nothing other than winning. They take care of their players. The Los Angeles Lakers. You remember when they paid Kobe Bryant all that money when he was like 33, 34, and by the time he was 38, he was still making $40 million while averaging like 15 to 13 points per game. That's called taking care of their players.
Yeah.
Right? They do that. The Miami Heat take care of their players.
Udonis Haslem.
Look at UD. They take care of their players. They don't do stuff like that. Most of the NBA, look at the Dallas Mavericks. Look at all that time Dirk was sitting on that bench. He probably wasn't good enough to be in the NBA in the last 3 years of his career, but Mark Cuban's a good owner. He cares about winning. He cares about culture. He cares about the players. So you know what he was doing? He was paying that man to stay on the bench and enjoy playing basketball for all the time he gave him. 80% of the NBA is not like that. Most of these teams want to be in the middle of the road. Look at the Knicks. You remember all the bad things that we've heard about the Knicks owner? They love to be in the middle of the road. These teams don't want to be in the luxury tax. Some of these guys don't care about winning basketball. They only care about money in their pocket. And for the players, they have to protect themselves against people like that.
Yeah.
They have to protect themselves against the people who don't really care about winning, against the people who don't really show intention to try to win. And ever since that James Harden thing happened, he has lost faith in good organizations except the Golden State Warriors. He has lost faith. And it's good reason, because anybody with a reasonable basketball mind would have probably said, man, James Harden's got more upside. Why wouldn't we $5 million more dollars? But because of the luxury tax, it would have been more than $5 million because of, you know, how the luxury tax works. And luxury tax is like more of a percentage on the money that you have as a payroll as a team. And that $5 million would have been more money than just $5 million per se, because it's hard to describe without going into depth. But you have to understand that most of these teams, man, don't give a flying fuck. And the reason why they're trying to put out that narrative and why they're trying to say those things is because they hate it. They most of these guys get one guy like Donovan Mitchell. They get one guy and they draft him. They feel like, oh, you owe me because I developed you. Yeah. You owe me because we drafted you. You owe me because we're your home. And that's just not the way the NBA works anymore. These guys are mobile. These guys have learned from the past. They learned from guys like Charles Barkley, who stayed with the Philadelphia 76ers for way too long. They learned from guys like that stayed on their organization for way too long, and they never got a ring, and nobody cares about them. Guys like Bob McAdoo, who played, you know, for the Clippers of the 60s, which is the Royals, the Buffalo Royals or the Buffalo something.
The Royals, I think.
Yeah, in the 70s, where he's averaging 30 points per game, and, you know, he's loyal to a team, but the team's not loyal to him to put in great talent around him, right? Like, the people have learned from the past, from the people, because everybody talks about rings now. It's media's fault. Everybody makes the rings debate, so it makes all these guys overstep and overplay because, oh my gosh, Skip Bayless is ripping into LeBron James when he went to 10 finals, has 4 rings. Oh my gosh, I don't have any rings. I need to go. Look at James Harden. James Harden is ring chasing at the end of his career because he couldn't do it in Houston. And everybody's saying, like, oh my gosh, look at Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson's not viewed as like one of the greatest shooting guards of all time, top 3, because he doesn't have a ring. Nobody cares. People, it's just the ring debate, the legacy debate. People have learned from the past. Players have looked at the past and said, oh my gosh, if I don't have rings, if I don't have winning, if I don't have success, my team success, then I don't get anything. I don't get any credit. And look at most of like the look at the careers and look at the people that you see on TV. Most of those guys have won chance. The people who on ESPN, Chauncey Billups used to be on ESPN, Richard Jefferson's on ESPN. Like, these people who are on studio usually have rings, have had great careers. It's rare. Look at Scottie Pippen, who was on ESPN for a while. It sells books. It sells being on stages after you're done playing basketball. It's all a strategic game, right? And it's just about building your legacy, and the owners get in the way of that. There's probably 1,000 players like Kevin Durant that had a team make a stupid decision, like not holding on to James Harden in Oklahoma City Thunder, over pinching pennies, and they never had their story wrote. They weren't Kevin Durant level players. Nobody ever cared about them. Like guys like Dave Bing, played for the New York Knicks in the 80s, not really remembered. Look at Kevin Garnett. Look at Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett played for the Timberwolves for like 10 years. He's the greatest Timberwolf ever to play, but he doesn't have his jersey retired because the owner treated him so badly and the relationship's so torn. Like, these owners care about nothing but money. So anything that these players want to do to write their own legacy and choose their own destiny is perfectly fine with me because I'm very pro player. I completely disagree with you, Chris.
I can see the pro player debate. I actually agree with everything you said. It just comes down to the fact that I would say that if there is a special situation like that, like where there are, it's a problem with the front office, I wouldn't be such an advocate for Cat leaving. I wouldn't be such an advocate for Donovan Mitchell leaving. I wouldn't be such an advocate for all these other players leaving, because I said this multiple times on this show, that I'm like, these guys should leave. They need to get rid of these people. These people in the front office need to be fired. I wouldn't be such an advocate for it if I didn't believe in it. But I'm saying that if there is a special situation where it's like, okay, the front office is terrible. They care more about this. This is not a winning culture. They didn't put the right pieces around me and things like that. Then I will be completely okay, because I can see that. You can see that even without even knowing what's going on behind closed doors. You can look out at the court and see that. And see, this doesn't. I know how basketball works. This doesn't work. Why you have all these big guys and you have Cat? You know what I mean? Like, why do you have all these small guys who got to take it to the hole and you got Cat? You know what I mean? And he's supposed to be dominating from down low. That's like having Giannis and not putting shooters around him. I'd be like, Giannis, you got to go. They don't understand how basketball works and how it works to win with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if there is a special situation like that, then I would be like, leave. Fine, leave. But that's what I'm. But the thing is, though, that I don't see that. Like in this situation, I don't see that. In the James Harden situation, I didn't see that. James Harden was ring chasing. He wanted to go over there, and he forced his way out. That's why I immediately got on him. I was like, that's a terrible decision. I think that's bad for basketball. Right now, I'm going to say this is a terrible decision. I think it's bad for basketball. Kyrie at least wasn't going to sign at first. You know what I mean? He's at the end of his contract. No matter what you may say about Kyrie, don't care. He was at the end of his contract with Nets. I don't care what happened in Boston, what happened years ago. He was at the end of his contract, and he had to sign for his $37 million. He thought about leaving. That was a thought that came out. Boom. I want to go to Lakers. There's a couple other teams I want to go to. Fine. He was at the end of his contract. I'm saying you shouldn't force your way out with 4 years left. And I don't see the problem. Besides Steve Nash, if you want to say that. But I don't see the problem. I don't see the problem.
I would say GM problems. I would say GM problems because, that guy started trying to pinch pennies with Kyrie and caused more issues than there needed to be when they could have just gave him his money.
But you know what I mean? But that's like, one thing I will say is that there's a lot of like media spin to these things. Because we really truly don't completely know what happened with that, like, because he wasn't gonna get a lot of money anyway because he played halftime. So he's technically a liability. Whether you agree with the vaccine or not, he's a liability. He played half the games and then played all of the playoffs and they didn't go anywhere. Played all the 4 games in the playoffs and didn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? So like, he's technically a liability. So I mean, like them being a little bit cautious on that. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. The $37 million, he got a lot of money for that. I mean, shoot, I don't have $37 million. That's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of money. And like I said, everything else aside, Cavaliers, Boston aside, right now, 2022, he played his entire contract out and was thinking about leaving, and then and signed. He still signed the extension. This is a 4-year extension you're coming up on. And you're like, now you're holding all the teams up right now, pretty much, because they don't know what you're gonna do. And then the thing is that the fact is that with these players, forcing their way out and stuff like that, and making it known, because it becomes immediately media attention. Boom. This is the big thing right now. Kevin Durant, one of the biggest marquee free agents. I mean, not even free agent, one of the biggest marquee players right now. He wants out. Now the team's like, I don't have to give you nothing. He's gonna leave. You see what I'm saying? Like, again, their asking price is high. Of course. Fine. It's Kevin Durant. That's a walking 30. I get it. But no, the team's like, I don't gotta give you nothing. I don't have to give you anything. He's gonna leave. But if he has to sign, he's gonna leave. He's gonna leave regardless. I could just wait and get him cheap.
I guess this is probably just the future of the NBA, where these big stars like this, if they don't like something about the situation and they feel like they want to go, they can just go no matter what, no matter when it is. Because you could put anything a GM wants to do. If, let's say, we talk about the player association and the owners are like, oh, you have to stick with your contract. All Kevin Durant has to do is say, oh, I have a back injury this year, and I just back injury, and he could just sit out the season. There's loopholes to everything, right? All you have to do is act like you're hurt, come up with some lie, and sit out the year and say, oh, my injury will go away when you trade me.
Right.
And the owners can do nothing about it. Nothing.
Yeah.
And you know what? If NBA players want to do that, then look, if you are treating the player that badly, when you are not doing enough to show that you want to win, to show that you're ready to win, then it's an issue. I understand they put the talent on the team because, yes, did they have James Harden, KD, and Kyrie? And if it was me in the situation and I was Kevin Durant, I'd be coming back to play because I really feel like everything fits around me really well.
Yeah.
But that's just me, right? And, my negative would be, bro, Steve Nash might have the all-star team, but he probably could coach us out of it to the point where the WNBA could probably beat us in 5-on-5 because he's just going to coach us so terribly. Like, and just put us in so terrible. I can understand because Steve Nash is really bad. When you ask Patty Mills to guard Jaylen Brown, you suck at your job, okay? This is pretty simple. They didn't fire him. So, I can understand to a certain extent where I would be a little discontent and be like, yo, either I go or Steve Nash goes. And trust me, Steve Nash would leave, okay? Look, that's what I would be pulling. But, it's... there's something there. There's something I agree that I think personally players should always have the choice and always should have the power because they should control their own destinies because we've seen players get fucked over by organizations too many times. Yeah. And it's just the reality of the world that they are money hungry. But my opposite on the spectrum, well, I'll agree to a certain extent, is I disagree that KD is making the right choice. I think he should be making the power play with Steve Nash saying he needs to go. There's a lot of coaches out there that just an average NBA coach can go in there and be fine. And, it's one of those things, man, where, he is just so caught up in the narrative. It's sad. Because it's just the Curry narrative. It's all about the Curry and the Golden State Warriors winning without him. And now people like us are like, man, Steph Curry really was the most important player in those teams. He does equate with the winning more than Kevin Durant. We both thought that. Yeah. And, it makes a lot of sense. And, he just wants to stab back. And he is the most emotionally immature NBA superstar of the past 50 years. Where it's just... doesn't have a strong enough mind to just wipe out the noise. Yeah. He cares way too much about what everybody else is saying. He needs that LeBron James mentality where I cut everything out. Skip Bayless, fuck you. Like, I don't give a fuck. Right? Like, that's KD's got that. He just doesn't have the mentality with all of his gifts to just make his own decisions, and he's like a leaf, gust of wind, and he flies a different way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to see because I'm like they like everything that you wanted, you pretty much had. Mm-hmm. It's just that it just didn't work out, and he was like, "Oh, it's time to go," because really, truly, I think that hindsight is definitely 2020, right? We already know he requested his trade. Like, it's pretty much going to happen at this point. Whether it's now or later, it's going to happen. He's probably not going to play. Mm-hmm. I feel that if... I lost my thought a second. I feel like if... not if James Harden stayed, but maybe if they would have made it a little bit further in the playoffs, it would. No, I got it. I feel like if Curry didn't win the championship this year, he would have signed no problem.
You are so right. You are literally so right.
He'd be like, I'll take it. if Curry didn't win the championship this year, he would have signed.
If they would have lost to the NBA Finals with all the hate that he would have gotten, oh, you guys can't win without KD. Like, he was like, yeah, they can't.
They can't win without me. I'm still the most important player on the Golden State Warriors. But they wanted to change the narrative, so suck it up.
Yeah. KD, man. KD is. It's crazy how much growing up with modern media has changed sports. Like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous. Like, these guys can't hide. I'm sure in the 70s, Larry Bird could have walked around in Boston and be like, "Oh, who's that random tall white guy? Like, what the heck?"
Yeah.
In Boston. And Magic Johnson, I'm sure Magic Johnson in Los Angeles, is superstar, but I'm sure there's some areas where it'd been like, oh, that guy's tall, I wonder what sport he plays. You know what I mean? I wonder if he plays for USC, UCLA, the Lakers, the Clippers. I don't know. He's just probably in this area. Magic can enjoy his, some peace and quiet, and just, I'm sure there's parts in towns where, at a beach or the places that are secluded, yeah, it's where you could just find some peace. But with modern media, okay, you could be at a beach, you could be with 0 people around you, but there's 100,000 followers on Instagram telling you suck. Okay, yeah. Trust me. As Chris and I are people who put up content on the internet, like, trust me, we understand there is no hiding from people that just want to tell you suck.
Yeah,
like we make a joke all the time about saying Rudy Gobert's name is Gobert, and the first thing I see on TikTok is, you guys can't say Rudy Gobert's name. It's not Gobert, dumbass. Like it's a comment. Trust me, it's there. Like, the people are ruthless. Like, yeah. It's just the reality of the day, man. And I just, it's just a different league, different era. Technology and the internet changed everything. So, yeah, his KD is just a result of that.
Yeah, social media is just a blessing and a curse in the NBA. Period. Yeah. Like, it's a blessing, and so it allows people from all over the world to be connected to their favorite person, their favorite player, and follow them. Oh God, he ate cereal this morning. Perfect. I eat cereal too. Stuff like that. Uh-huh. But there's also a curse in the fact that you have a bunch of people now who can tell you that, hey, I don't like you. Every day. Like, literally, they can have it in their notes, copy and paste it. Every time you post something, I don't like you, I think you suck. I don't like you, I think you suck. Like, you give the power to people to judge you, and for there to be such an intense magnifying glass on your whole entire life.
Yes.
LeBron can't go to the gym and shoot and put up shots without a camera being there. And then Chip Bayless like, Jordan wouldn't have missed none of that. That's just the one he made.
Like there was a video I saw on Instagram today of MJ airballing a 3, and it's viral on the internet or something like that. Like, it's just the reality of the world, man.
MJ never had to go through anything like this.
No. Dear goodness, could you imagine when he quit to go play baseball? He literally would not have been able to breathe. Everybody would have been around him all the time. You're like, you quitter. Like, you quitter would have been a comment that he would have seen at least 1,000 times on Instagram alone. Like, it's like the hate he would have received. Oh my goodness. You think a little? No, yeah, that would have been insane. And the funny thing about it is that, one guy that I really like is Wilt Chamberlain, right? Because one thing that's funny is, like, the modern internet, the good is we could see LeBron James playing in the Drew League and see him drop 42 points, right? But it used to be like legend. Yeah. There used to be legends where Wilt Chamberlain apparently, when he was 16 or 17, was playing in a random pickup league in Pennsylvania. And he had these ridiculous stat cards with like 70, 30, 10 blocks, something like that, where it was like all these stats, and he apparently like put in a fake name like his not real name into it because he was not over the age of 18. He was lying about his age, and like these like crazy highlights of him doing crazy stuff. Like these guys wouldn't have been able to hide like that today. Like Will Chamberlain, if the top 16-year-old player randomly starts playing with a random AAU group, they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's Jalen Green, bro. That's Jalen Green. I think that's Jalen Green. Like if Jalen Green was 16, Jalen Green was that guy when he was 16. Like it was. These guys it's just so different, so different.
Yeah. There's no hiding. There's no hiding from the media, man. When the media knows everything, and that means that the people who follow the media know everything.
Yes.
They have the power to judge at the click of a button. They can judge you.
Yeah, it's the reality, man.
Think about this for a second. They burn LeBron James jerseys in the social media age for leaving. You don't think they would have burned Mike jerseys for leaving? Like, even though he gave y'all rings, you don't think y'all would have burned jerseys? I mean, look. I know there's some blind witnesses. You like I did that?
Blind witnesses.
Witnesses. Blind witnesses. I mean, I know it's a LeBron thing, but I know there's some blind witnesses because that's what I like to call people who just can't see any wrong in LeBron James, whatever. Anyway, I know there's some blind witnesses who's like, we wouldn't have burned no jersey. He was the greatest player of all time. Now you telling me at the top of his career, if he was just like, nah, I'm just gonna go play baseball, you don't think they would have been like, they would have been rioting in Chicago? You don't think they would have burned jerseys in Chicago?
Let it burn, baby. Let it burn.
Up. What? You don't think? Like, come on now. If Jordan didn't stay all like his entire career, except for like the Wizard days, which you don't like to talk about, if he would have stayed his whole career in Chicago, if he didn't do that and left some time in the middle, even though it's the 90s and everybody's more, loyal to their team, whatever. Anyway, if he wouldn't have stayed his whole career in Chicago, let me tell you, if he would have came back, he would have been booed, boo. Like, just like the same type of treatment that LeBron gets now would have been MJ. Everything's under a magnifying glass. Oh, he had a 5-point game. Oh, he's not the best player in the world. I think it's Magic. But nobody gets under the magnifying glass like that because social media wasn't around in that age. You had papers and paper boys.
Bro, social media is no joke.
Yeah.
No joke at all. It would have been rough. When he did that, it would have been rough.
Yeah.
He would have went into hiding.
Right. Good one now.
Dear goodness. You like, Kevin Durant leaves, he gets called a cupcake and everything. Like, we got cupcake memes and a snake on all these memes. You think that was something? He left a team to go another team. He didn't leave to go play another sport. Okay, in the same city. He did. Like, trust me. If it would have been around back then, that man would have gotten crucified. He wouldn't have been Oh, yeah. Not a chance. Not a chance.
Come on now. He would have definitely got crucified. What?
Bro. No chance. There would have been no hiding from Mike.
Yeah, it's different.
It would have hurt his shoe sales, too.
For sure. Come on now. The media has all the power nowadays.
Yeah. Crazy.
It is crazy. Yep, so is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's going to be it. I'm Jason Collins.
And I'm Chris Muhammad.
We the best winners.
Peace.